Hey, Churchill. It is Mrs. Lewis again here with an introduction on community project. Today, we're going to go over a timeline overview, look at the process journal, and go over some frequently asked questions regarding community project. All right, so the first thing we'll go over is the general timeline for our project this year. We are starting in third quarter, and we will be looking at a project launch happening in homeroom and working on criterion A and B for the community project. So we're looking at investigating a need in our community, what we're interested in, what we're passionate about, and then it will also be some research and planning happening. And that time will be January through March. Looking towards fourth quarter, your April and May work will primarily be taking action. You will then also have a reflection portion and a presentation that will be happening towards the end of May, beginning of June. And most of this work will happen during homeroom, but there will be time that you will need to be working possibly outside of the regular school day as well, depending on the project depth and complexity that you choose to create. How exactly is the community project organized? Well, there will be a packet that you will be getting from your homeroom teacher, who is also your community project direct advisor. And that packet will essentially guide you through the work that you need and all the required steps. We will call the community project packet the process journal, just so you are aware of all the terms. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the process journal. And you can see a cover page is where you're going to start. You will have some time to fill this out, decide if you're going to be working individually or with a partner or small group. There is also a place where you will be sharing this with your guardians and getting that signed at a later date in homeroom. We will be taking some time to look over some global themes of needs that are happening around our community, whether it's here at the Churchill community or in Sacramento, Carmichael area. And then also looking at much wider, broader areas that we can find some way to help and to give back. We also will be going over that there are many different types of service learning that you can participate in. And we've already gone over this a little bit, but looking a little bit closer at direct service. So that's where students are going to have that direct interaction involving people, environment, possibly animals. This could be like one-on-one tutoring, developing a garden, working at an animal shelter. There's also indirect service that students can participate in, and that's where you do not necessarily see the recipients of your service while you're doing the work. So this is where you might be creating something where you're redesigning a website, maybe you're creating some sort of picture book to give awareness to a certain topic. There are also advocacy projects. So this is where you can speak on behalf of a certain cause or concern and figuring out a way to promote action to see how we can make that area of need have a little bit less of a need. And you can also create a research project where you're going to be diving much deeper into a particular area that needs to have some sort of change or benefit. And that could be something environmentally focused, looking at a certain policy or practice that's currently in place. So there's lots of different ways that you can also create a research project for your service learning. Looking a little bit further into our process journal, it is divided up into 4 different criterion. So we're pretty familiar with the IB rubrics, hopefully, as it's your third year here at Churchill. The community project also has IB rubrics, so that's something that should feel somewhat familiar. The first one is criterion A, investigating, and this is one of the criterion we'll be working on in the third quarter. So you can see the different strands, looking at what we're trying to achieve. There will also be several questions and areas for you to work through different reflection, identifying what type of work you're interested in, and then plenty of space for you to create room for research notes. You can always have additional pages added onto your process journal. You are not limited to the ones that are just given to you. Moving on, we will also be addressing criterion B, which is a little bit more research and essentially a plan to take action later on in the school year. So this criterion will also be addressed in third quarter. So here's a look at that rubric, and then moving into the reflection pages. This is where you're actually going to be planning, all right, is this a direct service project? Am I doing advocacy work? What is the process? Who do I need to contact? Looking through a reflection portion. figuring out what areas worked, what you still need to take care of to accomplish this goal, any other areas that you need to kind of take note. If you need to log certain service hours, if you have contact information, all of those things can be noted on this criterion B planning section. Then we move into our fourth quarter work, which is essentially taking action. This is where you're going to be completing your project. Here's a look at the rubric. Here's a look at where you're going to be taking note of your evidence. It is a good idea that when you are working on your project and actually taking action, that you're documenting that in some way. So maybe that is photographs, maybe that's screenshots, maybe that's some sort of website URL that you've created. And those types of things can be included here, or notes, so that when you're going back in and doing your presentation, you actually have something to share with your classmates or the classroom that you're presenting to. So just make sure as you're completing your action that you are documenting that in some way so that you have that physical evidence that you can share out the work that you did complete. There will be some critical thinking questions and evaluation, what worked well, what were some challenges. Remember that community project is a lot about the process, the plan, and being reflective on the work. It's not necessarily about the fact that you're ending world hunger, even though that sounds like a great idea. It's part of the process, and projects can do very, very well if they're being very critical in their thinking and they're reflecting, and not necessarily the fact that you were 100% successful with the goal that you went in trying to obtain. The last criterion D is the final reflection. This is what will be also completed at the end of fourth quarter. And this will go into a little bit more on the ATL skills, your research skills that you used going through the process. And then there is a presentation that I mentioned that will be required at the end. All students are going to use their process journal essentially to create their visual and their presentation. Every student will be creating a 3 to 5 minute presentation. If you are working in a partner or a team, you are all going to have your own visual aid that you're creating, and you will all present to different homerooms. So one partner might sign up to present to your 8th grade homeroom, while your buddies are presenting to a 6th or 7th grade homeroom. And we'll get more into the logistics of that in the month of May when you sign up for your presentation. But just so you know, you will be presenting your project, what worked, what didn't work, any evidence you have to share. And then the following is like a checklist for you to know what else needs to be included in your project slides. Again, putting emphasis on having some sort of visual to show the work that you were doing as you went through the process will be really beneficial once you get here. There is also an academic honesty form. You will be working on this with your community project advisor, which is your homeroom teacher. There will be a time each quarter in 3rd and 4th quarter where you will have a meeting with your advisor. They can kind of just check in, make sure that things are going okay, see if they can advise or help direct you. Sometimes students have to pivot or change their project kind of halfway through. And that's something that you will be able to kind of have a conversation with your supervisor during these meetings that will again happen during your homeroom time. We have also included just like a general inspiration list of some areas that you could get some inspiration for your project. So this is not the end all be all list by any means. It's really just like a jumping place for you to kind of dive into the idea of, okay, what's around me? What might I be interested in? There are all sorts of different needs around our community, local and much broader. And so some of these ideas are for the Churchill community. Some are going to be more the greater Sacramento area. And again, just use this as kind of a way to decide where maybe you want to take your project. Again, projects do not have to come from these pages. This is just something to kind of, get you started. A question that we always get is, how will we be graded? And that's a fair question. So starting in 3rd quarter, your process journal is going to get collected by your homeroom teacher. And this will then come to a large grading session that happens after school with all the Churchill teachers. So essentially every 8th grade teacher has a 6th and 7th grade teacher buddy, and they're responsible for reviewing all the process journals for your classroom. And then they will be giving you feedback. And then your grade will show up as an IB mark for homeroom. So you will see your IB mark on both your third and fourth quarter report card. And this is just something that we can do to help communicate how you're doing on your project. And if you need to change or pivot your project, again, that's not a problem. You don't need to throw out your original process journal. In fact, we want to see the process where you started with this idea, you thought you were going to be able to make this direct service work, and then you had to kind of pivot maybe into an indirect service project. You might have even changed the organization that you were working with. Again, we want to see that. It's the process journal, meaning it is a process. It doesn't have to be like a one perfect, here's my packet and everything's perfect in it. So just something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. And there will also be a certificate of promotion at our 8th grade promotion for students who really did an exemplar job on their community project. So this is a way to recognize your outstanding work and just a nice way to show your completion of your first 3 years of the middle years program here at Churchill. If you continue on to Mariloma High School, you will then be completing the personal project at the end of your 10th grade year. So this is kind of a nice way to get ready for it. And if you are leaving the IB program and moving on to a different high school pathway, then this is just a nice way to culminate your time in the middle years program of our International Baccalaureate School as you move on to bigger things in the coming years. So a few frequently asked questions. Can you work in a group? Yes. You may work individually, in partners, or in a group of 3. Each student will have their own process journal, and you are graded individually on the process journal, and you might be going and working at the same place or doing the same type of advocacy work, but everyone's going to have their own reflection and their own process journal. There is one caveat to that. Remember, if you are going to be working with a partner or a group, that all your members must be in the same homeroom class, since the majority of your work will be done in homeroom and you have that shared advisor. So again, you must pick someone who is in your homeroom class to be a partner or in a group, or you may choose just to work individually. There are definitely pros and cons to both working individually and with others. And as always, if you have any questions, you are always welcome to come and see me. My primary classroom is room 4 in the A wing, and my email address is lindsay.lewis@san1.edu. You may always email me directly if you have any questions. Thank you so much, Churchill, and I'm excited for you guys to get started on Community Project.